They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but some photographs hold something much darker. They are moments frozen in time that seem harmless at first glance, but once you learn their stories, they transform into gateways to the unknown. Today, I will take you through 10 images that will not only give you chills, but also make you question reality itself. From the unsettling to the truly terrifying, each entry on this list will bring us one step closer to absolute horror. It is important to clarify that we will not focus on the appearance of the photographs, but on the chilling stories surrounding them. We will progress gradually, starting with less disturbing stories and culminating in one that might haunt your worst nightmares. Are you ready? Because we're starting. Number 10. Starting off this list, we have a photograph that seems harmless at first glance, but its story hides a mystery that has baffled experts and enthusiasts alike for decades. It all began on a sunny summer afternoon in 1972 when a group of friends decided to explore the breathtaking landscape of the Grand Canyon. Among them was Kevin Thompson, an amateur photographer who, with his trusty film camera, sought to capture the majesty of this iconic location. After hours of hiking, the group found the perfect spot, a view that seemed straight out of a dream. There, they decided to stop, rest, and take photographs that they believed would immortalize the beauty of the moment. One of these pictures showed John Anderson standing at the edge of the cliff, his face illuminated by a smile that reflected the thrill of being so close to the abyss. Everything seemed normal until weeks later, when the film was developed and something terrifying came to light. In the image, behind John, hidden in the shadows of a rocky ledge, a strange figure could be seen. At first glance, it looked like a man, but something about its posture and eyes that seemed to stare directly into the camera, was deeply unsettling. The most disturbing part was that none of those present remembered seeing anyone there. Kevin was certain he would have noticed someone so close, especially on such an isolated trail. However, none of the friends could explain how that figure had ended up in the shot. When the photograph spread, it quickly reached the hands of photography experts and paranormal investigators. Analyses of the negative ruled out any manipulation. The figure was real, but its origin remained a mystery. A random hiker, a trick of the light, or something more sinister? What is certain is that this photograph left an indelible mark on those who were there that day. This image takes the number 10 spot because, although the figure in the picture is unsettling and sparks curiosity, the story surrounding it does not contain truly terrifying elements or any real sense of danger. The figure may have a logical explanation, such as an effect of light and shadow, or simply someone who went unnoticed at the time. However, what's coming next will raise the horror level a notch. Number 9. At number 9 on this list, we find an image that, at first glance, appears completely innocent. A group of children smiling at the camera, capturing a moment of family happiness. However, what was discovered later, upon reviewing the photograph, turned it into one of the most unsettling images on this list. This photo shows a group of children happily posing for the camera, a moment that seems to capture the innocence and joy of childhood. However, the story behind this picture is what makes it one of the most disturbing images on this list. It all happened on what seemed to be a peaceful family afternoon. The children, all smiles, gathered for a group photo, but in the lower right corner, something disrupted the harmony of the scene. The youngest daughter of the family, standing apart, was crying inconsolably. Her mother tried to comfort her, but the girl kept repeating a phrase that now sends shivers down the spine. "The boy scares me." The mother, thinking it was just a childish whim, ignored her words and took the picture. The unease came hours later when they reviewed the image on the phone. In it, between the children's legs and precisely in the corner where the little girl had pointed, something that shouldn't have been there could be seen. It was the blurry figure of a small boy, his silhouette slightly faded and his expression vacant, giving off an eerie and mysterious presence. What makes this story even more unsettling is that none of those present saw any strange child during the photo session. There was no one nearby who could match that figure, and the witnesses' accounts confirmed that it was impossible for someone or something to have been there at that moment. When the mother shared the photograph in search of answers, she was met with a wave of theories. Some experts suggested it could be a case of pareidolia, an optical illusion where the brain recognizes familiar shapes, like faces, in random patterns. But others proposed something far more chilling, that the camera had captured something beyond what the human eye can perceive, perhaps the spirit of a child still lingering in the place. So far, we have explored eerie shadows and mysterious figures intertwined with ghostly tales. But our next photo takes us somewhere different, revealing that even lakes, with their apparent tranquility, can conceal truly terrifying secrets. Number 8. It was a serene summer morning in 1990 at Stonewood Lake, a place so peaceful it seemed frozen in time. George Whitaker, a local fisherman, decided to spend the day there, enjoying one of his favorite pastimes. But he had no idea that this day would change his life forever. As he explored a shallow area near the shore, something unusual caught his attention. At the bottom of the water, he saw a dark and strange object. Intrigued, he used his net to pull it out. It was an old camera, covered in algae and mud, as if it had been submerged for decades. Back at his cabin, curiosity drove him to carefully dismantle the camera. Against all odds, the film inside seemed to be in a condition good enough to be developed. Wasting no time, George took it to a nearby photo lab. What they found was something no one expected. There was only one photograph on the roll, but what that image revealed left everyone in shock. The image showed a blurry creature, its posture unnatural and its shape seemingly defying the laws of nature. The most unsettling part was its face, distorted in a way that had no logical explanation. The local community quickly became engrossed in this strange discovery, and a photography expert from the University of Maine was called in to analyze the image. After a thorough examination, he confirmed something that left everyone frozen. The photograph had not been manipulated or altered. It was authentic. But if the photo was real, then what was that figure? Who or what had been captured in that image? To this day, no one has been able to provide a definitive answer. The only certainty is that this photo holds a mystery that challenges everything we know. The Stonewood Lake photograph left behind questions impossible to answer and a lingering sense of unease. But if you thought that story was chilling, what comes next will take you to an even darker place. Because sometimes, images don't just capture a moment. They capture the echoes of something that should never be remembered. Get ready for number 7, where an old house in the woods and an abandoned camera revealed a mystery that has haunted those who have discovered it for decades. Number 7. It was a hot summer in the 1950s, when a group of friends, seeking adventure, decided to explore a forest near their small town. What they found there would change their lives forever, or perhaps end them in the most terrifying way imaginable. Deep in the forest, the boys stumbled upon an abandoned house. The windows were shattered, and the walls looked like they had been consumed by time for decades. But instead of turning away, curiosity pushed them to step inside. In one of the rooms, they discovered something unusual: a hole dug into the ground, filled with murky water. 3 of them, excited by the find, decided to dive in, while the 4th, always more cautious, chose to stay back and take pictures with his old camera. What happened next remains a mystery. The 4 boys vanished that afternoon without leaving a single trace. Years passed with no clue about their fate, until, in 1982, the story resurfaced from the shadows. A man walking alone through the forest found an old, rusted camera buried beneath fallen leaves. Despite its decay, it still contained a roll of film. Hoping it might shed some light on its origins, He turned it over to the local authorities. When detectives developed the photographs, most of the images had been ruined by moisture and time, but a few survived. What they revealed was so disturbing that, even today, those who have seen them prefer not to speak about it. The last image was the most chilling of all. It showed the three boys inside the water-filled hole. Their faces, distorted, seemed to be screaming, but their human expressions had been replaced by something else, something monstrous, as if a malevolent force had consumed whatever they once were. It was as if the camera had captured not just a moment, but a presence that should not exist. An old, rusted camera, a hole filled with water, and a house that refuses to be forgotten. To this day, no one knows what happened to those boys or what that force was that consumed them. The only clear thing is that there are places where curiosity should never lead us. Ever. The photograph found in the forest left behind a trail of unanswered questions and an air of unease that still lingers. But if you think paranormal stories are limited to abandoned places and monstrous figures, think again. Because sometimes mystery manifests in the most intimate and personal moments, like the beginning of a new life. In number 6, we dive into a story that blends the unexplainable with the deeply human. A sonogram that, instead of bringing only joy, revealed a mystery no one could have anticipated. Number 6. It all began with a routine prenatal checkup. The expectant mother, thrilled to see her baby for the first time, never imagined that this special moment would turn into something deeply unsettling. On the screen, the mother noticed something strange. A figure seemed to emerge from the shadows right next to her baby. The initial excitement turned into a mix of surprise and unease. At home, when she showed the image to her husband, the atmosphere became even more eerie. To him, there was no doubt. The face that appeared in the image belonged to his mother, who had passed away just 4 months earlier. Could it be that the grandmother's spirit had returned from the beyond to send a message? For the husband, the clarity of the face was undeniable. There was no room for mistakes or coincidences. For the family, the apparition was not a reason for fear. On the contrary, they felt that the grandmother's presence was a comforting sign, as if she wanted to let them know she would be watching over the baby from another dimension. Some might attribute this phenomenon to pareidolia, the brain's tendency to recognize familiar shapes, like faces, in random patterns. But for this family, it wasn't an optical illusion. It was a spiritual connection, a manifestation that defied all logical explanation. Scientists and experts have tried to explain these kinds of phenomena as quirks of technology or perceptual illusions. But there are moments when science cannot provide answers, and in those moments, the mystery remains, leaving everyone to draw their own conclusions. The sonogram image left us questioning whether the boundaries between this world and the next are thinner than we think. But what you're about to see goes beyond a simple supernatural manifestation. In number 5, we move into the unsettling environment of a hospital, where one night the line between life and death blurred to reveal something that defies all explanation. This is the story of Laura, a nurse who will never forget what she saw on a screen. Get ready, because what you're about to discover will chill you to the bone. Number 5. In 2018, in a hospital whose location remains anonymous, an ordinary night turned into a terrifying experience for Laura, a nurse with over a decade of service. She had faced intense situations before, but nothing like this. As she monitored the patient's rooms, Laura noticed something strange on one of the screens. Moved by both fear and curiosity, she decided to take out her phone and capture the image. What she recorded was terrifying. The image showed a humanoid silhouette emanating a sensation of pure malice, as if its presence was draining the air from the room. Hours later, the patient lying in that bed unexpectedly passed away due to cardiac arrest. Laura couldn't get out of her mind what she had seen. Could that dark figure have been connected to the patient's death? Was it a premonition, or something even more terrifying? The hospital administration conducted an internal investigation to rule out technical failures in the security cameras, but they found nothing unusual. Everything seemed to indicate that what Laura had captured in the photo was real. The figure she saw was neither a reflection nor a technical anomaly. Paranormal investigators who analyzed the image began to formulate theories. One suggested that the figure might be a soul collector, an entity that appears in the moments before a person's death to guide their spirit to the other side. However, other experts argued that this figure was anything but peaceful. Was this figure a manifestation of something beyond our understanding? A demon, as some suggested, feeding on the energy of suffering, or perhaps a watcher that only appears on the threshold between life and death. Dark figures in hospitals make us reflect on the final moments of life and the limits of our comprehension. But sometimes, horrors don't come from the unknown, but from the evil that exists within our reality. In number 4, we travel back to 1962, to a night that was meant to be festive, but instead became the scene of one of the most horrifying crimes in New England history. Get ready, because this is a story that will make you think twice before attending a costume party. Number 4. On the night of October 31st, 1962, in an old mansion, everything seemed perfect for an unforgettable party. Flickering lights, vibrant music, and an atmosphere filled with laughter and excitement. Among the guests, a camera captured every moment, freezing the happiness in time. But that camera would also witness something much darker. When the lights suddenly went out, no one imagined what was about to happen. Amidst the darkness and confusion, someone managed to take a photograph that, decades later, still sends chills down the spine. The photograph was taken just before the attack began. It shows a man wearing a black mask, watching the partygoers like a predator stalking its prey. At first glance, he seems like just another costumed guest, but something about his posture, the intensity of his presence, felt deeply unsettling. This image became the only visual evidence of the killer, who that night took the lives of 7 people before disappearing without a trace. As panic consumed the mansion, the man in the black mask moved with terrifying precision, attacking mercilessly. Some guests tried to escape, but the doors and windows were blocked. The killer had planned every detail with chilling accuracy. The photograph, taken seconds before the attack, not only shows the murderer but also captures the moment when the horror began to unfold. When the police finally arrived, the killer had vanished, leaving behind a devastating scene and only one physical clue: his black mask abandoned near an exit. The photograph became a key piece of evidence in the investigation, but it did not help identify the culprit. The details of the figure in the image were clear enough to terrify, but not enough to solve the mystery. There were no witnesses who could identify him, and no further clues to track him down. All that remained was this haunting image, frozen in time. Photographs can capture obvious horrors, but there are also images that hold deeper mysteries. In number 3, we delve into one of the most baffling cases of the past decade. A security video, a water tank, and a place with a dark past intertwine in a story that remains unsolved to this day. Number 3. On January 31st, 2013, Elisa Lam, a 21-year-old Canadian student, was staying at the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles, a place known not only for its history, but for the dark events that had occurred within its walls over the years. That night, the hotel's security cameras captured Elisa inside an elevator. But what should have been a routine video ended up becoming one of the most unsettling recordings ever seen. In the footage, Elisa appears nervous, repeatedly pressing buttons, peeking down the hallway as if she were being chased, and moving in a strange, erratic manner. Her behavior was bizarre, disjointed, and unlike that of a person in their right mind. These images left everyone bewildered. What was Elisa seeing? What was she running from? Or was it all in her mind? A few days later, hotel guests began complaining about the strange taste of the water from the taps. When employees inspected the rooftop water tanks, they made a horrifying discovery. Elisa Lamb's body was inside one of them. Elisa was found naked inside the tank, her clothes floating around her. But the circumstances were even more disturbing. The access to the rooftop was locked, and there were no signs that anyone had helped her get up there. How did she get in by herself? The news spread quickly, and with it, countless theories emerged. Some believed Elisa had suffered a mental health episode that led her to behave erratically and, ultimately, to her tragic death. Others were convinced something far darker was at play: murder, conspiracy, or even a supernatural presence. The mystery deepened when considering the dark past of the Cecil Hotel. This place had housed serial killers like Richard Ramirez, known as the Night Stalker, and Jack Unterweger. Some also claimed that Elizabeth Short, famously known as the Black Dahlia, was last seen at this hotel before her gruesome murder. With such a sinister history, many believe the hotel itself is cursed, drawing tragedies like Elisa Lamb's into its walls. So far, we've seen how a simple fishing trip at Stonewood Lake revealed an impossible figure, how a house in the woods trapped a group of young people in a terrifying mystery, and how an ultrasound showed a face that seemed to come from beyond the grave. We also witnessed the black mask that turned a Halloween party into a nightmare, and the chilling case of Elisa Lam, caught between the unexplainable and the sinister. In our next photograph, we travel to the heart of the Panamanian jungle, where a series of images left behind a trail so disturbing that, even today, it remains an unsolved mystery. Number 2. On April 1st, 2014, Lisanne Froon and Chris Kremers, two young Dutch travelers, set out to explore the El Pianista Trail in Panama. This photograph, taken at the start of their adventure, shows both of them smiling, happy, and confident, ready to enjoy an unforgettable day. However, what was supposed to be a simple hike turned into one of the most chilling mysteries of recent years. When they failed to show up for a scheduled tour with a local guide the next day, concern began to grow. The owners of the house where they were staying alerted the authorities, and what followed was a massive search effort that lasted for weeks. Police, rescue teams, and even helicopters combed the area for days. But there was no trace of Lisanne and Chris. Everything seemed lost, until an unexpected discovery changed everything. 10 weeks after their disappearance, a local found a blue backpack near a river. Inside were the girls' belongings: sunglasses, water bottles, cash, 2 mobile phones, and a digital camera. But what should have provided answers only raised more questions. The first photos on the camera showed the girls enjoying the trail, smiling under the sun. But then something changed. The images taken days later told a completely different story. In the early hours of April 8th, 6 days after their disappearance, the camera recorded over 90 photos taken in complete darkness. Some showed branches, rocks, and the jungle floor illuminated by the flash. But there was one image in particular that left everyone speechless. One photograph captured the back of Chris's head, as if she were injured or unconscious. What were they trying to document in these photos? What happened in the final hours of their journey? Their phones also revealed disturbing details. In the days following their disappearance, they attempted to call emergency services multiple times but never managed to connect due to poor signal. However, the strangest part was that the phones continued to be turned on and off until April 11th, as if someone was still struggling to survive in the jungle. The last recorded activity occurred on April 11th, but only for a few seconds. After that, there was no further sign of life. What really happened to Chris and Lisanne? Shortly after the backpack was found, search teams discovered scattered human remains in the jungle. The strange part was that Lisanne's bones seemed to have decomposed naturally, while Chris's were completely bleached, as if they had been exposed to a chemical process or unnatural conditions. This only deepened the mystery. The disappearance of Lisanne Froon and Chris Kremers left behind a trail of images and clues that resemble an unsolvable puzzle. Was it an accident, a deadly trap in the jungle, or something far more sinister that we still can't comprehend? The photos of Chris and Lisanne left us with shadows, unanswered questions, and a mystery that seems to defy logic. But if you thought that story was already terrifying enough, brace yourself for what comes next. Because now, we travel to the frozen Ural Mountains, where one photograph captured not only the setting of a tragedy, but a terror so intense that it forced a group of hikers to confront the impossible. Number 1. On February 1st, 1959, a group of 9 hikers led by Igor Dyatlov set out on an expedition toward a mountain pass that now bears his name. Despite the extreme temperatures, which dropped to minus 30 degrees Celsius, these young mountaineers were experienced and confident that they could overcome any challenge. But that confidence was not enough to protect them from what was about to unfold. In the first few days of the expedition, photographs captured moments of camaraderie and excitement. But what happened on the night of February 1st marked the end of their lives and the beginning of one of the most unsettling mysteries in modern history. When rescue teams found the campsite days later, they came upon a scene that defied all logic. The tent had been slashed open from the inside, as if the hikers had desperately tried to escape. They had abandoned their shelter in the dead of night, despite the lethal cold, some barely dressed, others even barefoot. What could have forced them to flee like this? Their bodies were found scattered in various locations around the camp. Some had frozen to death, seemingly succumbing to hypothermia, but others had injuries so bizarre that investigators struggled to find explanations. One hiker had fractures in his chest comparable to the impact of a high-speed car crash, yet no visible external trauma. Another had a fractured skull, and one victim suffered severe brain damage without any external wounds on the head. The most horrifying discovery was that of one of the victims who was found missing her tongue, eyes, and lips. The precision of these mutilations ruled out an animal attack. What unknown force could have caused such injuries? Over time, multiple theories emerged to explain the tragedy. Some blamed an avalanche, yet there was no evidence of a large snow collapse in the area. Others pointed to secret military experiments, encounters with supernatural forces, or even unknown creatures lurking in the Ural Mountains. Local legends speak of unexplained phenomena and eerie presences in the region, which could have caused the panic and fatal injuries seen in the hikers. The last photograph taken by the group shows the campsite they left behind in their desperate escape. Decades later, the mystery of the Dyatlov Pass remains a chilling reminder that, even in the modern world, there are forces beyond our understanding.